But ladies and gentlemen, why I'm here and what I'd like to chat with all of you a little bit about is what's going on with your city government and what's going to happen and what we're looking forward to with the elections next year in 2010. And of course I'm going to talk about my career and what I'm looking forward to doing in my race for the United States Congress for the 1st Congressional District. Let me begin by saying, of course, that I know right now our nation, our state are in a little bit of tough economic times. I mean, everybody recognizes as we look around, the economy isn't doing as well as we would hope it would be. And yes, we need to take some bold, decisive, and quick action. President Obama has been getting on the tube a lot recently, repeatedly saying that yes, we've got to move quickly. I actually take the position as a Republican that I'm actually in partial agreement with President Obama. Yes, things are not going very well right now in our nation and our state's economy. Yes, we need to do something, and we need to do something quickly. Where I disagree with President Obama, and where I disagree with the Democrats running our nation right now, and for that matter, the Democrats running our state right now, is this statement that we need to do something has turned and morphed into we can do anything. And doing something doesn't necessarily mean you should just simply do anything. I want to highlight for all of you here what I think is missing right now in our politics. Our politics both nationally in Washington, D.C., and our politics locally here in Hawaii. And what I think is fundamentally missing is that we're in such a rush to go out there and spend billions upon billions of your dollars, we've lost sense of accountability and responsibility in our government. It frustrates me and it disappoints me that every time I look around and I turn on the television news, it seems to be that the universal response for every single thing that ails our nation, every single problem that we have in our community can be fixed by throwing $1 billion at it. And if it doesn't work, throw $10 billion at it. It's as if all of us here are this universal cash ATM machines and we have an unlimited supply of money. And then whatever it is out there, $1 billion can fix it. I don't quite think that's the right approach. Now, I have a chart here I want to show all of you to sort of illustrate what's going on nationally. This is actually on your tables, actually, so if you can't quite make it out here. What this chart shows all of you is the federal budget deficit here for our nation. As you can see, the budget deficit started going a little bit south right after September 11th. The 2002 budget, our budget deficit expanded with all the new pressures and demands upon our nation right after September 11th. And of course, the very next year, the United States got involved in Iraq, and our budget deficit got a little bit bigger. But after that, the Bush administration began to make some progress in reducing our spending over in Washington, D.C. And we began to slowly close that budget gap until this past year, for fiscal year 2009, which we're in right now, because of the financial turmoil in the markets, the budget deficit expanded again. But now, under the new administration, look at what has happened to federal spending. It has gone way, way, way south. We're looking at the first $1 trillion budget deficit in the history of our nation. And again, let me put this a little bit in perspective to all of you here. When George W. Bush, right after September 11th, ran a $500 billion budget deficit, he was universally criticized. The mainstream media went out and very scornfully attacked George W. Bush, saying, you're wasting all of the people's money when you're producing a $500 billion budget deficit. Well, ladies and gentlemen, if that was so scornful, and that was so bad and so wasteful, what in the heck do you call Barack Obama's budget deficit? If you're looking at $500 billion is unreasonable and far too much, what do you call it when you hit $1.7 trillion in terms of our spending? We can't go on like this. We cannot have a government in Washington, D.C. that continues to look at spending of our money like water. Now, I also have another chart here, because these problems aren't just limited to what is going on in Washington, D.C. On the other side of your handout for all of you here is what the budget looks like for the Honolulu city government. How have we been spending money over at Honolulu Hale? And this is a little bit more closer to home. We're not talking about some members of Congress and the President of the United States 5,000 to 10,000 miles away from us. It's what's happening down the street over at the corner of Punch Bowl and King Street. Well, what has been happening? Well, if you look at it here, the final year of Jeremy Harris's term as mayor of the city and county of Honolulu, this is for fiscal year 2005, we were able to run the city and county of Honolulu on a budget of $1.5 billion. $1.5 billion to run your whole entire city government in 2005. Well, this past week, Luffy Hanneman released his new budget. What happened? The mayor is asking for not two, not 2.5, not 3, but a $3.5 billion budget. We have more than double the size of city spending over at Honolulu Hale in a span of less than 4 years. This is absolutely amazing, going from $1.5 billion to $3.5 billion in just a few years. This is not sustainable. This is a rate of growth about 5 times that of inflation. We cannot continue to go along this path. Now, a lot of people tell me, well, in terms of Honolulu, that Jeremy Harris, he did a lot of things wrong. Well, you know, he wasn't really fixing the potholes, he wasn't really fixing the sewer systems, he was spending too much time attacking the lingo. Yeah, those are fair criticisms.